I'm Holly and I'm autistic, for those of you who don't know. I want to do a video on stimming because you might not understand why your child who's autistic might stim, or you might be autistic and you don't understand what it is yourself. So I am no doctor, I am no expert, I don't really know. I'm just kind of giving what in relation to me and how I feel around stimming. And these are kind of more like opinion based, not really fact. So yeah, if you do want to know about stimming from an autistic's point of view, the doctors might be able to give the scientific explanation, but they've never done it themselves. They can't really know, can they? I mean, realistically. So, okay. Anyway, I'm just going to get into the video, explain what stimming is, etc, etc. And yeah, okay. So, it's a repetitive behaviour that everyone, non-autistics and autistics, do participate in. It can be very complex things or very simple things, such as biting your nails, that's a stim, such as playing with the pen on your pen lid, fidgeting, fidget toys, all that is all stimming. But for an autistic person, what people notice is the stimming is more obvious, such as hand flapping, rocking. It can come in so many different forms. I'm not going to name all the different stims, but that is kind of like what a stim is. You can have verbal stims, so repetitive noises, repetitive phrases. It's all that is stimming, okay? It's a repetitive movement that anyone can do. However, a lot of autistic people stim. Now, it can be different for every autistic because what I'm about to say doesn't actually apply to me. Basically, a lot of autistic, well, it does, just not, it does, I'll explain me, but yeah. Anyway, a lot of autistic people stim because of an overload of emotions, due to the fact that we feel we don't process our emotions, we don't process sensory. Now, I'm no doctor, as you can see, I'm no doctor because I can't even tell you what I'm actually talking about. Sensory surroundings. Yeah. So like light, noise, touch, all your senses, we feel that in a different way, and how I could explain it is it's heightened. So we feel things a little bit more intensely. So life as an autistic person is very intense, as we do feel everything. We get an overload of emotions and our brain cannot process it. So we process it through body, like processing as in stimming. And what you might notice about if it's yourself or your child, or even, I don't even know, a mum, a sister, anything, any relatives, you might notice that it might be linked to an extreme emotion such as excitement, anger, such as happiness. They might stim, as in like flap their hands, they might rock. I certainly do rock. I do stim when I'm angry, when I'm anxious, I shake my leg, I try and like, because my brain can't process emotions such as anxious and such as being angry the way someone else can. And I do stim sometimes to it helps me prevent a meltdown. By rocking, by moving, it helps me prevent a meltdown. In some ways, some ways not. A meltdown is kind of the same as in it is an overload of emotion. I am feeling an overload and it is like a release of energy, which is exactly what stimming is, but obviously not in as a very kind of like violent way, because meltdowns can be quite violent. Not always, but they can be. So what I'm trying to say is that stimming is kind of a release of energy from an overload of emotions, and autistic people can sometimes show obvious stims. Now, I've had some comments saying, should my child stop stimming? Is it bad? No, it is not bad, and neurotypicals who watch their child stim, sometimes, this is not me saying every, but sometimes you might feel like it's embarrassing if it's in public, such as like stimming can be like flapping the hands, such as rocking. It can be quite obvious, as I've said. So a neurotypical might think it's not socially acceptable to participate in said behaviour. So they might want to change it. If they're taught to not do it, it can cause further damage down the line, because when they're taught not to do it, that's kind of like masking. And if you are masking all day long, you then get home in a non-public environment and you're going to explode. You're going to have to release this energy, because that's all I can explain it. It's an energy, and which is why I don't understand. I do understand why a neurotypical might be like embarrassed or whatnot, but I'm not being funny, but you do need to learn to like try and get over it, because you might be worried about how your child might be preserved to the public, but at the end of the day, they're actually really helping themselves and helping you in the long run, because it's going to be you that has to deal with them trying to not stim all day long, and they're going to come home and things are going to be 20 million times worse. And it's also going to cause, if you tell them not to stim and that's their behaviour, that is really going to cause low self-esteem, because you're telling them not to participate in a behaviour that they feel they need to do. Now, stimming for me was a lot more obvious as a child for me, because like I've just said about this whole socially acceptable thing, when you're a child, young, you don't really understand social norms, what to and what not to do. So I kind of just did what felt nice. I just felt, if something felt good to me, I did it. So a stim for me was probably like an obvious stim. Obviously, we've got the biting the nails, the shaking of the leg, all that, but neurotypical people do that, so it's seen as more acceptable, which is ridiculous. We need to get over these ridiculous like stigmas of what should or shouldn't be done in society, because why is shaking your leg normal and flapping your hands not? I don't understand. But at the end of the day, that's what is seen to be normal, or what is seen to be acceptable to do in society. Like biting nails, I mean, people might think it's disgusting, but it's still seen as normal. Do you know what I mean? I mean, what is normal? It's what society deems as being acceptable to do. But it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. So, yeah. I used to flap with sticks and like shake things in public. Now, I still do this, just not in public. Because of the way society deems it, and because I am very socially aware. I wish I could do it and people wouldn't judge me for it, but they do. And I know that's what a parent might think, oh, someone else is judging their child and whatnot, but as a child, I did do it. The thing is, for me, those types of stims do not come, as in my hand flapping has not been, it's not being linked to any extreme emotions. It hasn't stopped it. I don't do it to stop me from having a meltdown. I don't do it to stop frustration. That's not my stim. I do it out of pure enjoyment. So if I could do that from my room, then I would. Do you know what I mean? Whereas I do have other stims that might prevent me from meltdowns, like rocking, shaking my leg, like, I don't know, pulling my fingers back. That's like, do you know what I mean? Like cracking. I have to be like moving. And that is kind of like my stim that helps me calm down. But my hand flapping isn't. So that's why maybe if it was, then I might have done it in public, but it's not. I do it out of pure enjoyment, and it isn't linked to any extreme emotions whatsoever. So yeah, as I said, I don't feel comfortable doing it in public because of what society deems right or wrong, but because I can choose when or not to do that stim, I would much rather do it in an environment where I do feel comfortable in, because I can help it. Some stims I cannot. help. My stimming is usually linked to negative extreme emotions such as frustration, anxious, angry, sad, kind of, but I don't really get, my emotions are kind of like, when I was younger, as excitement as well, but when I talk about my emotions, I get happy, but I don't process it the same way. Like, I don't get, like, when I'm happy, I don't seem it. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes when I'm happy, like, people will be like, why aren't you why are not happy, but like excited? I don't get excited that much. Like, I do, but I don't show it in the same way everyone else does. I show it differently, and I kind of do it like I have it like internally. And obviously there's certain things that make me happy and there's certain things that don't make me happy, but I just don't show it the same way. It kind of made me look a bit like this as a child and stuff. It kind of made me look a bit like, what's the word? Like, I just didn't really have like emotion, but if you know what I mean. Yeah. So there is cases where stimming can be bad. Stimming can be bad in instances where it is causing harm to yourself. So some stimming can be self-injury, such as hair pulling, such as headbanging, such as biting. All these things are done. I have kind of, not hair pulling, but I have kind of participated in this to prevent a meltdown as a child, right through. Those stims for me have helped me prevent a meltdown, and it is natural for me to go to do that, because it has stopped me from like having a meltdown and feeling completely out of control in my body. And when you're in a meltdown, for an autistic person, it's really not a nice experience, because it's something that is completely out of your control. And for me, I am a control freak, so it is probably one of the worst things to ever happen to me. It's horrible to go through. You don't feel like you're in control of your body, your emotions, due to a complete overload of just complete like sensory input overload. I don't know, but yeah, it's just horrible. To try and prevent that from happening, I do, as well as a lot of autistic, do participate in self-injury kind of like stims. But obviously I've learned to have to stop these, because obviously it's better to damage your things rather than hurt yourself. So as a parent, if your child's doing that, those are the only stims I would advise trying to stop. Now, it's not as easy as going, you need to stop there, but if you make your environment more secure and make them feel more comfortable in participating in other stims that aren't as dangerous, that might help. I have always been taught is hurt things rather than yourself. My mum said if you do end up trashing your room because of a meltdown, it's replaceable at the end of the day. It's only things, you can replace it. And being taught that has kind of stopped me from kind of doing that self-injury. The only reason why I did used to do self-injury now isn't to kind of stop me from trashing my room. It's kind of to stop me from feeling out of control, because that's not, I don't think when I have a meltdown now, oh, I don't want to trash the room, because I kind of feel more able to do so if I really need to release the energy. It's more because it's like it's not myself. It's like it's not me doing it. It's like I completely leave my body and I have no control over what's going on, and that is really not a nice feeling for me. So I do anything I can to prevent it, such as stims that might be quite dangerous. But obviously it's something that I do need to stop, because I shouldn't be doing it. I need to participate in maybe other things like rocking or other things like that, because although they might not seem socially acceptable into society, and they're not actually doing any harm, and it's not the autistic person that's wrong, it's the way society views it that's wrong. I haven't had very many meltdowns in public. I am a pro at masking. I have been for a very long time. I mask very well. I struggle to show emotion to anyone that isn't my mum. Really bad. It's been something because of the way society does treat people for showing emotion. I've seen that and internalized it, and now I really struggle to tell people that I'm not okay and that I'm about to have a meltdown. The emotions that I'm feeling are too intense, and what I do is I will mask it all day long, get home, and it will not be great, which is why I do not advise masking. Although a lot of people can't help it due to the fact of, again, a lot of autistic people mask because of the way autistic people are viewed for being themselves. They're bullied sometimes, they are lots of other things, they're looked at, it's not nice. So autistic people do mask, and that can cause further damage behind closed doors and can cause extremely low self-esteem, can cause kind of an identity crisis because you spent your whole life trying to be someone else and not being yourself. At the end of the day, that's kind of the end of the video. I hope you learned something from it and kind of what stimming is, why autistic people do it, why they don't do it, and problems with not doing it and problems with doing it. I hope you enjoyed. If you have any ideas of what videos I should do next, please put it down in the comment section, and go follow me on TikTok. I post a lot more videos, short videos on autism. So there you go. I will see you next week. Bye.